detecting a massive object emerging from hyperspace.
Well, guys, I don't know if I'm just out of the loop or I'm just really not paying attention to any social media, because I saw a lot of comments saying that this morning, at least at the time of this recording, I'm probably going to release this tomorrow, but the trailer for The Rise of Skywalker, that the footage shown at the Disney Expo would be released this morning, again, at least at the time of this recording. And you know what? Checked YouTube this morning. Turns out there it was. Surprised me. I think everyone is really excited to see more Rise of Skywalker. So naturally, there's a lot to discuss, so let's dive right into it. Starting off, much like the Avengers Endgame trailer, there's a lot of footage of past Star Wars movies, and I find it interesting that they went in order of release and not in episodic order. I would figure that they'd go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 instead of, obviously original trilogy, prequel trilogy, and then sequel trilogy, at least the 2 movies we have so far. It's a small thing. By no means is it really a key issue, but I think it's just something interesting worth pointing out. But anyway, that was all just buffer to make the trailer seem longer. What we're really here for is it's about 40 to 50 seconds of actual new footage that we got for the Rise of Skywalker. Sorry, not The Last Jedi. So there's a lot to discuss, so we'll start right at the beginning. Right from the start, we see our gang, which includes Rey, Finn, Poe, and several others, are what it looks like they're overlooking a festival in, I'm not sure the location, I forget the name of the planet, but it is what was the scenes that were filmed in the Jordan Desert, which for any movie buffs, that's the same place that they filmed a lot of the scenes, in fact, I think all of the scenes for Lawrence of Arabia. There's a shot of Leia, which is really touching. I'm really happy that they were able to use archive footage and somehow overlay her into the scenes from The Rise of Skywalker. I'm really excited to see her, and I really hope they do a tribute similar to what they did to Stan Lee in Avengers Endgame, and somewhat similar to what they did in The Last Jedi. I mean, this is her last movie, even though she had no idea that she was filming for this movie when she was. Next, of course, is the scene of a makeshift Rebel or Resistance fleet assembling. Now, there is no confirmation, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the blockade runner, the CR-90 Corvette, is in fact the Tantive 4. If it's not, it's the Tantive 3, which we see in Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Now, a lot of people are saying that the blockade runner shown in the trailer is in fact not the Tantive 4 and just some random blockade runner, because the Tantive 4 was in fact seized by the Empire. But, and I don't blame you for not watching it, but if you watch Resistance, you in fact actually see the Tantive 4, and keep in mind the show, at least Season 1, takes place right before the events of The Force Awakens, meaning that the Tantive 4 is somewhere in the Resistance, Rebel, New Republic fleet somewhere. So the fact that it's being pulled out now, it makes sense. And to anyone saying that this scene in particular might be a flashback and the Tantive 4 is just being used in the Galactic Civil War, there are T-70 X-Wings. You can notice, you can tell them apart from the T-65 based on their engine design. It is 4 half circles as opposed to 4 full circles as the engines. Small detail, but really easy to pick out. And it looks as though they're going to be using old Rebel era technology though as well, such things as the B-Wing and the Y-Wing. Now, the A-Wing I do believe could be Resistance era. Obviously, the A-Wings and X-Wings are bought off of the New Republic or scrounged from whatever they can find, but the B and the Y-Wings I think are a completely different case. Keep in mind that if you watch Star Wars The Clone Wars and Star Wars Rebels, you know that every single Y-Wing used by the Rebellion was at one point a Y-Wing used by the Galactic Republic. And when the Empire came to power, they simply stripped down the Y-Wings of most of its tech, which is why it has that kind of skeletal shape. And as you'll notice, the Y-Wings in the trailer, if you look up close, they do have that iconic skeletal shape that's been stripped down. If the Resistance were to be getting new Y-Wings, they would look exactly or better than the version seen in Star Wars The Clone Wars. The 2-person cockpit, the astromech droid, the full covering, it would be a full ship instead of the stripped down version. Now, as for the B-Wings, again, if you watched Star Wars Rebels, the B-Wings are actually just kind of an amalgamation fighter. It's a blade wing. Therefore, I find it a little unlikely that there would be a new version. I think that it is highly likely that these are simply Rebel ships that were left over. Perhaps the Resistance found them. So it would make sense for them to use any ships that were available. Along with that, we do see a freighter. Now, I can't verifiably say what kind of freighter. I did try, but I can say that I don't think it's the Millennium Falcon. That I'm pretty sure of. There are several freighters that fit its silhouette, but I don't want to make any conclusive arguments here. Obviously, this is just a teaser trailer. More will be shown later. And the next shot, which certainly I think shocked a lot of people, was the lines and lines, the fleet formation of Star Destroyers. Important thing to note, these are not Resurgent-class Star Destroyers used by the First Order, like the Finalizer, Kylo Ren's ship. These are Imperial-era, Imperial 1 and 2 class Star Destroyers used in the Galactic Civil War. You can easily see this by looking at their shape. They're a little more triangular. They don't have kind of that nose cross thing. And the bridges are much more protruding out of the hull as opposed to the Resurgent-class Star Destroyers. There's a few shots of Rey training, and then a shot of Kylo Ren coming out of his TIE Fighter, which originally I thought was not his TIE Fighter, but rather a new Imperial, or not Imperial, but a First Order TIE Interceptor. But it does appear to be a modified TIE Silencer, Kylo Ren's starship. Of course, in this shot, we do see Kylo Ren getting out, igniting his lightsaber on what appears to be a snowy planet, and then we see him fighting with Rey on what can only be one of the two Death Stars, no confirmation as to which it is, but we can look at the turbo lasers and verifiably say that it is in fact the Death Star, one of the two. But that shot makes it obvious that there are two instances here that have simply been put together for the sake of the trailer. The one shot of Kylo Ren on the snow planet, and the other one of him fighting Rey on the Death Star. These two shots are simply put together to kind of make the trailer flow a little more seamlessly, though they are from two completely different parts of the movie. Of course, then we have Palpatine's line, "Your journey nears its end," which in a way does kind of confirm, along with the poster, that he will not simply be having a cameo role, and according to Disney insiders and Lucasfilm execs, he will have a fully fleshed out role. It looks as though he will be the villain of this trilogy, the same as he was the villain of the others. That's great news to hear. It really does bind all three trilogies together. And of course, the moment that everyone has been talking about on Instagram, on Twitter, everywhere, it's buzzing everywhere. Rey with a double-bladed red lightsaber. Interesting note to point out is that the lightsaber is unbalanced, similar to Kylo Ren's. Now, Kylo Ren's lightsaber is unbalanced because it has a cracked kyber crystal. It would be very interesting to see that exact same process replicated, which leads me to my theory. And I know it's probably not good to plant ideas in people's heads and let them think that's how the movie's going to play out, but hear me out. The entire thing is clearly a vision, much like Luke with his cave in The Empire Strikes Back, and much like Yoda envisioning Order 66 in the Clone Wars. The cave amplifies fear and also shows a potential future should one's path not be changed. For instance, Luke was going to become the evil that his father was, the same thing that was also shown in Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, when he looked down after he cut his father's hand off and then saw that he was becoming him with his robotic implant. And also Yoda in the Clone Wars, not in any episode, but he sees a vision of Order 66, which of course he didn't divulge, he didn't tell anyone really. And that's what happened. So I think that Rey is going to get a vision of herself turning to the dark side. The only reason she has a cracked crystal lightsaber is because the only one that she's seen previously would have been Kylo Ren, so that's the image that would have been planted into her mind. After all, in Episode 8, Luke did say that she didn't hesitate to go to the dark. She's naturally an inquisitive character, so obviously if she doesn't divulge from that path, the dark side version of her is imminent. Another interesting note to point out is that her lightsaber has a single blade and a double blade option, which, obviously can unfold into a double-bladed lightsaber. Similar to the Grand Inquisitors when he was a Jedi, and similar to Pong Krell. It's almost symbolic of any good guy who then gets corrupted by the dark side and turns. So the lightsaber has kind of a symbolic meaning. So maybe that's just a little bit of Easter egg that's been thrown in by the creators. Obviously, that isn't ever going to really be confirmed, but it's a fun thing to note and point out. Lastly, I would like to say that this scene probably has a couple people annoyed that they would reveal such a big moment in the trailer. Keep in mind that J.J. Abrams is very talented with showing us a lot that is also nothing. He can show us any scene, but he won't give us any context, which leads me to believe that this scene is either inconsequential to the entire movie as a whole, or it's something that happens very early. If Rey did in fact turn to the dark side and really did have a red lightsaber, they would not show it in the trailer. That leads me to believe that this has to be a vision, something maybe Palpatine is giving her or something else with her training. But all in all, I know for a fact that this is not what will happen in the movie, at least not this scene. Well, guys, that's it. That was the Rise of Skywalker Disney Expo reveal trailer. A lot of nice callbacks to the original and prequel trilogy and previous sequel movies. I'm super excited for this movie. I think everyone else is too. I'll be keeping you guys up to date on new Star Wars news. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you again next time.
You don't know the power of 1980.